Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Informal bringing you the latest and greatest Mr. Informal podcast. This is the 137th Mr. Informal podcast, however you want to call it, episode, edition, series, so on. So, first and foremost, I hope you are doing great today. I hope you are being healthy. I pretty much can tell that you are probably full from Christmas, and certainly hopefully you had a great Merry Christmas. And not only that, I just want to let you know this is the last Mr. Informal podcast for 2020. Yes, the year 2020 is almost over, and this will be the last podcast of Mr. Informal, and we will continue on with 2021. So, again, I've been saying this again over and over. Please do not forget to add me on Instagram, MisterInformal, and then check out my website, mrinformal.com, mrinformal.com. So, what are the three topics actually in this podcast? Because the third topic is a big one. First topic is Nike profits. They actually made money, but I have a big major problem on that one. Number two, influencers' impact has risen. It's actually much greater than you expected. Last but not least, lockdown. The rise in the China virus is increasing a lot, even though we are on lockdown, or most of the country is on lockdown, and it has not stopped. So I want to speak about that because I do have a major issue on that one. So again, there are only three topics for this 137 Mr. Informal podcast. I hope you will enjoy it. And so let's go ahead and start the podcast. So first topic for this podcast is actually from retail.com, titled Nike post $11 billion quarter and plans for 30 new stores. Just weeks after Lululemon reported revenue that surged 22%, Nike announced $11.2 billion quarter, up 9% from previous year. The activewear retailer saw 84% in digital in its third straight quarter, roughly 80% growth in that metric. The retailer is now backing out physical growth, though Nike opened two live stores and 6 United stores in the second quarter, and plans to open 30 stores in the second half of the year. Nike direct sales were up 32% to $4.3 billion, mostly thanks to digital gains, while the brand Nike's revenues were $10.7 billion, up 8%, and $476 million for Converse, that's down 4%, according to a company's press release. Net income at the retail rose 12% to $1.3 billion. So, I'm okay with Nike profiting. Certainly no problem with that. But you've been listening to my podcast for this year, the year 2020. Nike were laying off a lot of their workforce. And this is why I got a problem with this thing that Nike is doing, which is having more physical presence in retail space or whatever space they're gonna take. Because certainly, as you know, they are a corporate and they don't really care about employees like they said they do, but they're not. And so what does this really tells us? Well, it really tells us that they're corporate and they don't really care about the employees, because I've been saying it all the time. Nike's laying off employees, and yet for some reason it's still continuing to expand and continuing its growth and actually making profits. So what is going on here? Well, they're trying to reduce their operating costs, probably physical stores, while at the same time they're actually making more money in digital sales, e-commerce sales, because they don't have to have they lessen their physical operating cost. And so it is such a shame that this so dirty. And as you know, our politicians are not actually doing anything about it, because corporate America is actually gaining from this pandemic and the China virus, and it's sickening. It is absolutely sickening. And for some reason, this always not talked about, because I think it's not something that people want to hear, or people find and not interesting. But for me, it is interesting, because it lets you know that the kind of company that you should be working for. Now, am I saying that you should not work for Nike? No, I think in terms of Nike employees, I'm sure everybody wants to be treated well, treated with respect. Certainly room for growth, certainly to grow with the company, but at the same time, you have to understand that this corporate, and all they care about is their stock soaring, their investors, and also certainly their sales. No matter the kind of month, the year, even if it's the pandemic of the China virus, they are still going to continuing on without their employees. And I wonder what I mean, you already know the employees who were laid off probably felt about it. He said, hey, you're actually making money and yet you're laying us off. So what's going on here? It is such a shame. But look, I guess people still love Nike. People still love shoes. No matter no matter the year, no matter what's going on in the world, people will still buy shoes. And it also lets you know that, hey, people are still willing to shop, even though there are over 100 million of Americans that are unemployed. On to topic number 2 from retaildive.com, titled Study: Influencer Impact Up 57% amid shift to Instagram stories and TikTok. Influencer collaboration had 50% more reach and impact in 2020 compared to 2019, according to Clear State Influencer Marketing 2021 report that was emailed to sister publication Marketing Dive. While the usage of a hashtag in Instagram posts declined 19% year over year, creators' use of sponsored stories rose 32% in 2020. Similarly, sponsorship activity overall increased on TikTok by 130% this year. The survey of more than 5,000 influencers across social networks pinpointed changes in influencer marketing demographic makeup. Gen Z, defined by Clear as those aged to 24, it contributed to a 9% lift in the production of influencer ad content and was the only cohort to increase its volume of sponsored Instagram posts. Wow. First of all, I have a big problem with this, because, as you know, influencers, they just showcase the product. It's basically like a TV ad, one of those as seen on TV type of thing. They never really tell you the quality. They never really tell you the usage, the experience, the day-to-day usage of the product. Doesn't matter, clothes, electronics, hardware items, whatever it may be. And they are just basically these companies are paying these influencers, whether it be by money, whether it be by product, whatever it is. So I never really watch a lot of influencer. I don't even know if I even follow an influencer. If I did, I need to delete these people. I don't care what they are. So in the later down the article, scrolling down the article, it also says, as Gen Z's importance to influencer marketing crystallizes, brands will have to tailor their message and those to their influencer partners to the demographic. Clear reports notes that 80% of brands made a statement in support of Black Lives Matter in 2020, Baseline moved to engage with a demographic that demands the brand support social causes. Analysis study found that 36% of influencer following consumers said they now follow a more diverse mix of creators than they did before the protest against racial inequality last summer. Me, I don't really care, but okay, fine. I guess people needs to be more diverse, needs to be socially interacted in different races. So I don't really got a problem with that. But I do have a problem with Gen Z being influenced by influencers. So, man, what's gonna happen is that these brands are not even gonna talk about quality anymore. They're gonna talk about, hey, go find this influencers or go watch this influencers and all of that, and these influencers are gonna be like, I partner with this company or this company sponsored this video or this post or this TikTok, whatever, and we're not gonna see, items being actually talked about, like deep down, like, hey, how's the quality on? How's the fit? What is the usage rate on this? Is it worth the price? And so on. And so I'm more into the reviewers instead of influencers. But I know that there are influencers who do reviews, but I don't watch them. I don't really care about them. And should you care about them? No. You should not care about them. And so I'm looking at it in the next 5 years. Is marketing going? Are we going to see more commercials of products? I don't think so. I think we're just going to have influencers marketing these brands' products. So that's what's going to happen. Celebrity is still going to be there. Celebrity were probably the first influencers, you can even say. They've always had the major impact. And all these social media influencers, they're just going to get bigger and bigger as more people follow these influencers. So I'm going to talk about a topic that it's probably going to bother you, probably already bothered you, and it already bothered me. So as you know, most of the countries are most of the states in the United States of America are in some type of lockdown, some restrictions, some limited type of movement. Not only that, many states out there also had their restaurants closed down, yet grocery stores and shopping malls are still open, and so you can't even dine out. It's only takeout or delivery, and so on. Christmas just came by, and New Year's is coming by, so we're gonna see more people getting drunk, but it has not stopped the spread of coronavirus. And this where my issue lies, is that the restrictions, the limited movement, the closing down of restaurants, the lockdown, it's not really doing anything in terms of actually reducing or even stopping the spread of the coronavirus. Even if, think about it, in the summertime, there were still cases or some states that had rising cases, while it was becoming smaller or decreasing. It still did not stop it. And then as the winter season comes, it went back up again, even with the lockdown. And in the summertime, some states never had a lockdown, and then the cases was reduced. So in the end, there's no science backing any information about lockdown, limited movements, or restriction reducing the rate of the coronavirus. Now, why do I say this? Because the restaurants are getting hit hard, the malls are getting hit hard, and yet for some reason, all of the states, or even most states, are still keeping the grocery stores and even the shopping malls open. And who's really benefiting from this? Well, it's pretty obvious. The corporate business is benefiting from this, because the small businesses, the mom and pop shop, are being closed down. And yet we got Walmart, Target, Costco are still open. even with the lockdown. So, they say that only certain people can come in, and yet they don't have that in grocery stores. They don't have that in Costco. I mean, there are lines, but again, it's not stopping them from having any type of limited amount of people. Unlike the malls where, okay, 20 people it can only come in. And that is such a slow way of doing business, and such a slow way and also disrespectful way of treating customers. Because what these brands or these companies and even these politicians don't know is that the less amount of time you spend at the mall, the faster you can get out of there, and the reduction of time you interact with people. And so the less time you interact with people, the better you are. And yet you still wait in line just to get into a store and so on, and 6 feet whatever, but still you are still in line with other people. And all these restrictions, lockdown is not really telling anything. It's not really stopping anything. And you got these people telling you or me and every one of us, oh, support small businesses. Well, how can we support small businesses when these small businesses are being told to close down by the politicians that you and I voted for? And yet these politicians are closing restaurants with no scientific research or even type of quantitative data that tells us, hey, dining indoor or outdoor is spreading the coronavirus. It doesn't. If that's the case, then why do we even have Christmas? I mean, you got people visiting from other houses, or even your friends visiting you for Christmas and eating dinner with other people. And not only that, prior to Christmas, you got your Christmas shopping. Again, if we're really going to stop the coronavirus, I mean, you might as well just have a curfew, some kind of martial law, or some kind of total lockdown, meaning everything closed. Everything closed. Doesn't matter, obviously except the hospital. But I mean, Costco, any type of grocery store, Walgreens, or whatever. Everything has to close. But they're not doing that because certain type of corporates and politicians are benefiting from this. And it's absolutely sad because a lot of people are unemployed. And as you know, it's quite a bit of mess right now. So in the end, or to conclude this, so what I'm basically saying is that all these lockdowns, limited restrictions, limited type of movement, limited amount of people in the stores, the mall, whatever, and even closing down the restaurants, whether it be indoor dining or outdoor dining, doesn't really prove much. It's not really stopping the coronavirus. It's not stopping the spread. Heck, even if you have the vaccine. Now, that's another issue I have, is that vaccine, there's too much politics in the vaccines right now. Too much. But we're really going to talk about the mom and pop stores and even the fitness centers being closed down. It's absolutely sad because there's no quantitative data research that shows that these lockdowns is actually stopping the spread of coronavirus. And so that basically concludes this Mr. Informal Podcast 137. I hope you enjoy listening to me from beginning to end. And certainly I hope you learned something. I gave you some insights. And certainly I hope you had a Merry Christmas. And again, thank you for listening to me. Please do not forget to add me on Instagram, MISTERINFORMAL. And then check out my website, mrinformal.com, MRINFORMAL.com. And so again, I hope you had a great Merry Christmas and certainly Happy New Year. And I will see you in the year 2021. Bye-bye.